Welcome to Quote Unquote Audiobooks. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for updates and notifications on new audiobook releases. Happy listening! A Train Story by Himanshu Goel. The rain battered hard on my violet umbrella and suitcases as I raced to catch the train. I juggled the two suitcases and a box of sweets and snacks my mom had packed for me from one hand to another while simultaneously maneuvering through the train station that was riddled with holes and ditches due to the merciless rain. The scent of the sweet box smelled like my childhood. It mixed with the rusty metallic tinge of the station to create an absurd combination. I could spot the train from the distance and hear the hum of the engine as it warmed itself up to leave. There were no coolies in the area. There were rarely any because no one bothered to pay anything from my small town Samirpur. Between the enormous amount of luggage, the rain, and the labyrinth-like station, I was convinced that the universe wanted me to miss the train. In the last few months, I had lost my job, broken up my 2-year-old relationship, and now the train. It felt like fate was conspiring to make my life as miserable as possible. I was a few yards away when the train driver decided to leave without me, its engine churning slowly, preparing to depart. I somehow managed to sprint with all my luggage as the wheels of my suitcase moved in sync with the wheels of the train. Destined to fail, my feet got stuck in one of the ditches as I fell face first into the water. My clothes and the box of sweets ruined. Yep, fate was definitely not on my side. I had lost all hope to catch the train and didn't even have the energy or will to get up. "Bhaiya!" came a loud shout from behind as a strange man ran towards the moving train with remarkable speed and jumped inside. I wiped off the mud stuck on my hair and eyelashes to look up. The train had miraculously stopped. A couple of minutes later, the strange man was next to me, his hand extended to lift me up. Without much choice left, I took his help. We were inside the train in no time. He graciously took the heaviest suitcase I had and even salvaged some sweets that were not ruined by the rain. The train was empty as usual. Not many people went from our small town to the big city. Often, there were only 2 or 3 passengers. The stranger was talking to the conductor. The conductor looked annoyed, but ultimately they both shook hands and went on their separate ways. A 25-year-old girl with ruffled curly hair and a tired face. The train's shiny table reflected to me my defeated expression. Somewhere inside that tired face was a beautiful girl, but she was too lazy to keep up appearances. The pride of Samirpur, my mother often called me when I used to put some effort into how I looked. The pride was long gone, and the woman in the reflection was barely recognizable now. I was wearing an oversized green coat, same color as my eye. I had owned that coat since forever, but I still loved it. "Someday," she said, "you'll grow into the coat, and it'll fit you perfectly." That day was yet to come. "Those sweets smell delicious. I hope some of them are still edible." The stranger's heavy voice took me out of my trailing thoughts. There was something familiar about his voice, but I couldn't remember where I had heard it before. Without an invitation, he took the seat in front of me. With the mud out of my eyes, I could see him clearly. At 6 feet, he barely fit into the small train seats. His tall stature was accompanied by long brown hair, which he carried with casual charm. He was undeniably attractive, and he took good care of himself. His hair and beard groomed to perfection. I wondered what he thought of my unkempt hair and oversized coat and face riddled with pimples. Just like his voice, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something familiar about his appearance. "There," he said as he waved his hand across my face. Oh God! I had been staring at him for minutes like a fool. Yes. I'm just having a bad day." Bad day was an understatement. Bad week or month would have been a more correct assessment. "Yeah, this is one of the worst rains in centuries. Can ruin the best of moods." His clothes were drenched. Helping me out of the ditch had cost him his jeans. The raindrops on the window that blurred the passing landscape actually looked quite cynic. But I could sense something ominous about this rain. "By the way, thanks for helping me back there. I don't know what I would have done if I missed the train," I said. He had been a lifesaver. "So, what brought you to Samirpur?" he asked casually as he took some sweets from the box he had saved without invitation. If it was anyone else, my reaction would have been completely different. But there was something about him that diffused my usual notions. A familiarity. "Oh, I'm actually from here. Born and brought up. Going to the big city for a job interview. What about you?" The reason I had an interview was because I was fired a couple of months ago from my previous job. But there was no reason to confide in a random stranger into the tales of my failures. "Must be something living in a place like that. I'm just passing, but it's already my favorite hill stations," he said. It was a common reaction from the handful of tourists that visited Samirpur in holiday season. No doubt, my hometown was beautiful, but living in the hill station is a whole different experience than just going there for a weekend getaway. "So, what's the interview for?" he asked with genuine curiosity. "There are a couple of interviews I have. The one that I'm looking forward to is Alpha Labs. It's a design firm. They're creating some of the most groundbreaking visual concepts for all the big brands," I said. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't help but be excited when talking about my work. "That's amazing. You look very attractive to be a graphic designer." The sudden remark burnt my cheeks red. The corner of his eye took notice, but he continued. "It's been a few years, but I was in the marketing, and we dealt with visual design firms all the time. So, Photoshop wizard, huh?" He talked as if he had been working for years, despite looking the same age as me. "Yes, but Photoshop is just a tool ultimately." It was this line of thought that had costed me my last job. There had been no creative freedom for a designer there. Before I could realize, I had forgotten about my bad day and got lost in conversation with him. Chapter 2. "Take me back home! Please! I want to stay!" A 7-year-old kid ran into a compartment, his mom following behind. They stopped a seat behind us as the mom tried to convince the kid why they had to go. Not convinced by his mom's argument, the kid broke down into a loud cry. The shrieks reverberated through the empty train. Dealing with children had never been my strong suit, and I immediately curled up into my seat as soon as I heard those cries. Once again, the stranger came to mind and the mother's rescue. He picked up a pack of biscuits from his bag. I recognized the biscuits at first glance. It wasn't the common ones, but the pack had been my favorite since I was a kid. I was surprised to see that someone else had also got them. He took out 3 to 4 biscuits from the pack and handed to the kid, who looked at the strange man curiously at first, but quickly grabbed the biscuits with sheer joy only a kid could have. He had forgotten all about going back to his home and was munching on the biscuits quietly. His mother came up to our seat to thank us. The stranger became more and more intriguing as the journey went on. In many ways, he was everything I wished to be. He was attractive. He had a successful job. He was good with kids. He was a smooth talker. He probably had a very beautiful girlfriend. The list could go on. I was the exact opposite in every way. The train journey was a long one, almost 9 hours, but my new company had made it a lot easier. Our conversation carried on as I got more comfortable talking about myself and my work. I had never been the talkative one, often secluded in my own space, drawing on my tablet, but there was something about him that had made me open up. I told him about my recent mishaps, how I got fired, the design work I had done, even told him about my recent breakup. I showed him some of my favorite designs and insecurities I had for the next interviews. You don't have any reason to be scared. Your design work is some of the best I've seen. It's certainly not the conventional style, but isn't that the point of new design? To imagine things that haven't been done before? He said as he looked at my recent designs on the phone. There were furniture and clothing concepts. You have won design awards at such a young age. Trust me, your life is not limited by a relationship or one job. You have a long way ahead of you. I don't know. Alpha Labs have the best designers, not just from India, but the world. I doubt my chances. But if I can't get a job today, I don't know what I'll do. Hold that thought, he said as the ticket inspector came to our seat. We were almost at the end of the journey. Ticket, please, he said in the most monotonous way possible, a line he had repeated thousands of times to thousands of people. Here you go. I showed him a screenshot of the ticket, which he quickly glanced at and moved on. Hold on. You didn't check his ticket, I said as the inspector was moving to the back of the train. Who? There are only 3 passengers in this bus, ma'am. You, the woman, and a child. He looked at me as if I had gone crazy, and he didn't seem to notice the stranger sitting next to me at all. The inspector ignored me and moved on to his duties. I looked up to the stranger, and who looked at me with a wide grin, with a "I told you so" expression. Can you explain me what's going on? I asked. My mind had given up trying to make sense of the whole situation. I was never in the train with you. I'm the perfect stranger that you always wanted to be, he said. His face and voice turned into something more familiar as he talked. I don't understand. You picked me up when I fell at the station. You helped stop the train, I said, tracing back my steps until the moment in time. Did I? Or was it you? Try to remember. You were the one who picked yourself up, sprinted towards the moving train, and called for an emergency exit. He said these statements as if they were facts. Like a mild headache, fainted memories came to me of talking to the inspector. "What about the woman and the kid?" I asked. "That was you. How could I, a stranger from another city, have the biscuits that are your favorite? It was you who gifted them to the kid." It isn't possible. You are right in front of me. I can see you, hear you." And I pushed forward to poke a finger at his shoulder. "Touch you." My finger passed right through his shoulder, towards the cold steel of the train's seat, as if he wasn't there. "Do you believe me now?" he said again, with his "I told you so" look. Something had changed when I tried to touch him. His illusion had weakened. His body appeared translucent now, and his face a bit hazy. I don't know what to say. "It was you. I am you. Can't you see? I am the perfect version that you always wanted to be, except that you already are there. You are independent and attractive, the pride of Samirpur. You are great with children, one of the most talented designers in India. The list could go on. No breakup or job can define who you are. You are much bigger than that. You are the perfect version of yourself," he said as the train screeched to a stop. The stranger in front of him gradually faded until there was nothing remaining but an empty train seat. I realize now why he sounded and looked so familiar. He was a reflection of myself. I had been in doubt ever since my breakup and job loss. The faded memories came back to me, clear as day. It had been me who stopped the train, dealt with the instructor, talked to the child. I had been the person I looked up to. For one last time, before leaving the train, I looked at my reflection. The stranger looked back at me and smiled.